Hello and welcome to another episode of Chasing Hope with me, Catherine Abraham. In this latest episode, we look at a very important and oft neglected part of our lives, the concept of rest. If I had to ask you, what do you do over the weekend? Some will say, I go out to the movies or I meet my friends. And depending upon how exhausting your life is, some will say, I sleep. Is rest a priority in your life? Do you rest enough, or do you find yourself terribly caught up with multiple things to even care about it? Well, to be honest, up until the year 2014, I was what most people call a workaholic. I didn't need alcohol to keep me going. I needed more work. I needed my mind to be permanently busy. And in many ways, I still do. Just a little lesser. And it was around this time that I met my literary agent for the first time. And he just happened to read a poem and thought I'd do well for myself as a writer. Charged with the idea of seeing my name in print among the literary greats, I set about writing. I wrote in every spare minute that I could. I didn't rest at all. In fact, I didn't find the need to. I found it easier to complete my day job, take an hour's break, and then go right into writing. In fact, there was a day when I completed my work and got back home around 7:30 in the evening, and I sat down to write at 8:30, and I kept writing right up till 5:30 in the morning, and I didn't quite realize time had just flown. And so this continued for 45 days and nights. And 45 nights later, I had the first draft of my book complete. I was over the moon, and I was very sick. Suddenly, a feeling of deep lethargy seemed to overtake me. I wasn't able to move a limb. Gone were the late nights and the early starts. I suddenly couldn't feel myself. I couldn't feel my body. I felt lifeless. My body refused to cooperate. And that's when I realized I really had to rest. Interestingly, God Himself set a precedent about rest. In the Bible, we are made aware that God made the earth and the sun, the moon, the stars, everything within 6 days. But when we look at the seventh day, it says, and God rested. Now the question that arises here is, why does God, the omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, the one who oversees everything in this world, need to stress? Or for that matter, needs to rest? Does God go on a holiday that day? Or does He just say, okay, let's look at these petitions next day? On the contrary, the entire idea of carving an entire 24-hour framework for us to rest was to ensure that we in many ways connected better with ourselves and with God on that day. In fact, this is exactly how the Seventh-day Adventists get their name. For the rest was not just a promise or a covenant, it was part of a divine law. It was a part of the 10 Commandments. Now, which God actually takes this time out and makes rest a part of the divine law? Ours does. Because God knows that the human body can only function better if it has had enough of rest and sleep. Most importantly, this was a day carved by God for His people to take care of their relationship with Him. So 6 days we're with friends, we're with family, we're with everybody. But the seventh day is the one day, that one 24-hour period where God says, why don't we just get connected? Let's get to know each other better. And what better way than to go ahead and read His scriptures, understand Him, find Him, fight with Him. There have been so many times that I've gone ahead and actually said, God, why? Why is this happening? Everything seems to be going smooth, and then a roadblock, a dead end. And it becomes a pattern. And suddenly, you just want to give up. But that is exactly the reason why God made this seventh day. Because these 6 days of madness needed a break. And hence the seventh. He wants us to give Him priority on just one day. Now, for anyone who's been in a relationship, I think they would relate with this really well. At the beginning of any relationship, you demand the time of the other person. And the other person also seeks the same kind of love and affection, attention. And then slowly with time, of course, yes, things get better or things get worse. But presuming things get better, the need for attention doesn't die off. The need for love doesn't die off. The need for affection does not die off. Now the point is, if you're willing to do everything for another human being who is just like you, a mortal, who will age, who will wrinkle up, and one day pass away. The point is now, how much more time should you be spending with God then? The person who created you, the one who made you, breathed life in you, gave you everything you wanted. How much more devoted should you be to Him? So a lot of times people misunderstand that if it's the Saturday, you can go out, can have a good time, you're done with church, that's it. I've done my duty, right? God wanted me to attend church. I've attended it. Now what more could He possibly want? Well, the point is, yes, you attended the church, but did you connect with Him? Did you share your problem with Him? Were you able to give Him the kind of time that you would demand from another human being? And if your answer is no, then you need to rethink on this strategy. Matthew 11:28-30 says, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls." Even here, God talks about rest. Interestingly, even Jesus kept the Sabbath, both in life and even in death. He set a precedent for us to follow. Matthew 28:18-19 says, "And Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost." The Sabbath was a requirement. Exodus 28:11 clearly states, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it." So when Jesus was connecting with us, when He talked about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, He was not just talking about baptizing people. He was not just going and telling them, convert people. No. What He said is, lead your life in such a way that it becomes an example in itself. In fact, every good Christian is a missionary whose mission is to inspire. And that is why in most of my talks, you will hear that God has gifted us the ability and the power of discernment. And I am such a big believer of this. Because God trusts us. And when He trusts us, He goes ahead and He says, I've shown you the way. I've shown you the way. Now you go ahead and determine what is important for you. You go and make that conscious choice of whether you want to spend time with me or whether you want to waste your time with everybody else the same way you have for the other 6 days of the week. So God has defined His time, His 24 hours. And it's the time that we need to make a friendship with Him. If a couple stops spending quality time with each other, the marriage falls apart. In the same way, when we stop giving time to God, we inevitably drift away from Him. The fact that this particular part of keeping the Sabbath was made a part of the 10 Commandments is a clear indication on how important it is for God that He made establishing a relationship with Him as important as following His footsteps. The definition of the word evening, as found in Mark 1:32 or Leviticus 23:32, or even Genesis 1:5, are indicators that the Sabbath begins on Friday and lasts till Saturday sunset. And I just told you, God even mentions the Sabbath not just for us but for Himself as well, because Jesus also rested on the Sabbath. He came, He told us that He was not here to break any laws, and He didn't. The Sabbath is the day of the Lord. It's unchangeable. The scriptures talk of the permanence of only this one particular day, and hence it cannot be compromised. The other point to note here is that while many Christians observe the season of Lent, it culminates in an Easter weekend. Now here too you will see that Easter weekend has the Good Friday, where Christ is supposed to have been crucified, and then you have something called as Holy Saturday, and finally Easter Sunday. Imagine that they inadvertently have maintained the concept of the holiness of Saturday, because that is the day when Jesus rested. If Jesus rose on Sunday, Easter Sunday, as many call it, what stopped Him from rising on Saturday? The Sabbath. Because He had to maintain what He had given to us. And that's the quality and the mark of any good leader. We lead by example. And that's exactly what Jesus did. Because from the time He was taken down from that cross, and then till the time He rose again, there's a gap of exactly 1.5 days. Because Jesus rested on Saturday. And that's how He arose on Sunday, which is the day of resurrection. So you see, my friends, it's not just a promise. It's God's command that we rest. We give our body that time, that space, that energy. When we keep working, we forget that our body needs to rejuvenate itself. The wear and tear of this body is difficult to maintain if we are moving at a breakneck speed. And hence it's wonderful. It's wonderful for people to go ahead. I know a lot of people who say, oh well, we exercise, we are on diet, we eat healthy. Nothing can go wrong with us. Absolutely. Nothing can go wrong with you if that's what you feel. But the question here is not about anything going just wrong with your body, but also with your mind. When you connect with God, you clear your mind of all the negativity, all of those thoughts that stop you from being who you are. When you want to blossom into a flower and you're busy concentrating on the thorns just because they're in the way of your blossoming, that's when you realize you need God. Because He's the only one who can make you see that despite the thorns, you will still bloom wherever you are. So think about it, my friends. It's not a difficult thing to just set aside one 24-hour period for yourself. It's not difficult. It takes commitment. It definitely takes a lot of commitment. If you make it a point today that yes, I will make sure that I am going to rest, I am going to give myself some time, I am going to relax my mind because I need to be ready for the subsequent week. Only then will you see a massive difference. And that's when you will also spiritually grow, bloom and blossom into a wonderfully inspiring individual. People will just be inspired by the fact that you look so fresh. I meet so many Adventist folks from different parts of the world, and I'm amazed at how fresh they look, even when they're way past their prime. They're well maintained, they're healthy, they exercise well, but at the same time, they ensure that on the Sabbath, they give themselves time, they give God time, and most importantly, they ensure that they're doing exactly what it takes to grow. So if you want to grow today, make it a point to carve out those 24 hours just for yourself and just for God. And you will see every week becoming lighter, becoming more fruitful, more productive, and in many ways, you will be able to realize your dream faster than you ever thought of it. So my friends, if you have enjoyed this entire episode of Chasing Hope, please get in touch with us. We're waiting to hear from you. Send us a mail. Log on to our website chasinghopewithkatherine.com and make sure you stay in touch. If there's any prayer request, please send it to us, and if there's any question on the Bible, please send it so that our Bible experts will get in touch with you within 24 hours. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to another exciting episode with you.